As we indicated earlier, the Acting Minister of Police, Firoz Cachalia, will visit the families of those who were killed in the latest mass shooting which occurred on Wednesday in Westbury here in Johannesburg. The Minister will also visit those who were injured during that attack and have since been hospitalised. It's reported that the 5 victims were at a corner Lark Spur court and Jacaranda court. In fact, that's the location where it all took place, when they were attacked by an unknown number of suspects. A 15-month-old baby is amongst the injured. SABC News reporter Thabiso Radebe joins us live. I think you are in Westbury. Thabiso, thank you very much indeed for joining us. So right behind you, that looks to be the police station. We'd expect that the police minister will start at the police station and get a briefing before he heads out into the community. This is a community that is ravaged by constant gangsterism and crime all the time. We're talking about a 15-month-old baby who's been caught in the latest clash. One of the critical questions that I have is, where is the SANDF that was promised in areas such as Westbury?
Of course, Griselda Lewis, it's some of the questions we have to ask here at the Westbury. We are at the Sophia Town Police Station where, correctly, you mentioned it, that the minister, acting minister, Firoz Cachalia, is expected to meet families. But obviously, we are waiting for the minister to arrive here at the police station, meet with the management to discuss issues that are facing this particular community here. As you've correctly mentioned, that 2 people have passed on, and then some of them were 3 of them were injured. I spoke to one community member here saying that it's a concern. Crime is a concern in this particular area. You will recall that last year we were in this particular community. People were shot. But I'm going to speak to one of the community members here just to tell us about their concern, their issues as far as crime is concerned. Aisha Oliphant, thank you for your time, Aisha. Obviously, there are concerns among these community members here.
There's innocent people are dying here in Johannesburg. A lot of people are dying. Other people are fighting for their lives, but they can't fight for their lives. There was the girl shot, the young girl, she's dying. And the baby was shooting, and the baby's alive. Now other people are feeling so hard, so I don't know what happened when the mother's feeling so hard. So it's so heartbreaking for those people. If those people don't stand up, then what must we do in the community? People's getting hurt all over. Everywhere when we go, the shops, when we want to come here, then it's almost a shooting. We are afraid so to go all over. But I'm sorry to say that you people have to stand up for us. If you don't stand up for us, then I don't know what is going to happen to this community. I just want to...
That brings us to our next question.
Yes.
What needs to be done as a community member?
Yes.
You know this particular community,
yes.
Aisha.
As a community member, I want them to lock all of them up, that we can get free. And if we get free, then we're happy for the police. We are free for we can walk wherever we want to go to. Yes.
How is your everyday life living among these guns? We heard that a 15-month-old baby is one of the people shot. How do you survive in this particular community here where there's crime?
There's a lot of crimes here. Everybody are dying, and the people are very hard. So the mothers take the children's part and say it's not their children, but it is their children. If they go to jail, they must come back home. Why must they come back home? Because the children are dying innocent, and the school children are dying innocent. Westbury, Coronation, all over our school, Lukle number 1, all over is dying, because we can't take this anymore. I get now sick and tired of this now. If they can't do anything about it, and I don't know what must we do. If the community don't stand up, then the people are keep on dying here.
The minister will be meeting the communities, especially those affected communities. What will be your words to the minister as far as crime is concerned, shootings are concerned?
My community is, they must catch all of them and put them in a van and hit them and beat them so up that they don't do it again and took the guns off. That I want. That is my thing that I say now. There's nothing to say now. I'm just saying that what must be done must be done. I'm happy that I say something of the community because we can't do that. Long time ago, the shooting is going on and on until night, until daybreak. So what must we do then? We must talk to the community and tell them what is the right thing and what is the wrong thing. If the community don't stand up, I don't know what can I do.
Thank you very much, Aisha. Thank you very much. There you have it, Griselda. Aisha Oliphant talking to us about community frustrations in this particular area. That will be one question that we'll be asking about the deployment of the South African National Defence Force in this particular area, because Griselda is, as I mentioned earlier on, last year we were here in this particular community with this rampant crime taking place in this particular area.
Thabiso, one of the questions that have been raised by the community there seems to be ineffective policing, they say, from the very police station that you are standing next to. Has anything been said about, or perhaps now that the acting police minister goes there, to address some of those concerns? Because that community believes every time something happens, the police do not effectively deal with it. They've bemoaned the lack of police presence in that particular area, and also, bemoaned the fact that very little is being done to rescue the situation in that area as the body count rises.
Yes, of course, when I spoke with Aisha earlier on, he was saying that when there's something happening in this particular area, the police come, and then after that, you will see no police in this particular area in Westbury. So they are complaining about police visibility. They are complaining about resources, those particular vehicles that will, when police are being called, they will go to those communities and assist as particular communities. But we will hear from the minister on, in terms of the deployment, in terms of moving forward, the deployment, because another issue is the issue of police visibility in this particular area. Chris?
And Thabiso, if you just take a glance, getting to where you are, where the police minister, the acting police minister will start, the community itself, the community member you were speaking to a few moments ago speaks about, the fear that they feel. And, there doesn't seem to be anything tangible that is coming. How does the community hope that this latest visit by this acting police minister is going to be able to change anything in Westbury?
Yes, Chris, obviously there is, as you said, you heard from Aisha saying that they've got a fear, because they are fear to go into the shops. They are fear to take their children to the school. There's a lot of issues here crippling this particular area. Issues of unemployment, issues of crime in general. So there is a lot of fear, but those are some of the questions that are going to be posed to Prof. Firoz Cachalia in this particular area.
Well, Thabiso, what time can we expect the acting police minister? And I guess he's going to get a briefing insight. That always happens. He'll get a briefing insight of where to next. Do we have an idea of which direction they'll be heading to? He's going to meet, of course, with the families of the victims and even those that were injured. Are they in various hospitals? Can you give me a sense of the plan that we're likely to see over the next hour or two, I guess?
I cannot hear any longer. I can't hear precisely.
All right. I do apologize for that. We seem to have a break in our line there with my colleague Thabiso Radebe, who is out at Westbury, and that's where the acting police minister, Firoz Cachalia, will be visiting following another violent incident which has seen a number of people dead and including a number of injured. A 15-month-old baby also caught in that crossfire there. Really a community ravaged by gangsterism and crime. That particular community hoping that there will be some changes by the recent visit, or this latest visit by the acting police minister. What exactly will change in Westbury? And I think many of those community members are pinning their hopes on the deployment of the South African National Defence Force to that area. Recall President Cyril Ramaphosa indicating that, those areas that are ridden by gangsterism and crime Certainly Westbury is one of those, and that is, they're hoping that this latest visit will make some kind of change. Those boots on the ground of those soldiers, that's not yet happened. I guess there were expectations a little bit earlier on that that deployment will take place, much earlier. But of course, there are processes that need to be put in place. There's a budget that needs to be put in place. In fact, let's show you those pictures now live, if we can. Here is the acting Minister of Police, and that is Firoz Cachalia. Let's take you live there. Looks like he'll be speaking to the media. All right, that's the acting Police Minister, Firoz Cachalia, who's speaking to the media. Our microphones are just quickly trying to get there. In fact, I had to see our mic flag. General Fred Gekana also accompanying the acting police minister. And in fact, let's take you live to that discussion he's having with the media.
The death of 2 people and others still injured, including a 15-month-old baby.
So I'm accompanied with the Deputy Provincial Commissioner. The Provincial Commissioner is en route. I had a briefing from the head of the anti-gang unit, from crime intelligence, from the detectives, and of course from the Deputy Provincial Commissioner. And I've got a strong sense of, I understand what happened. The briefing had a lot of information about the incident and about ongoing investigations. We also looked at what else must be done to strengthen our response to the gangs. And I've asked the Deputy Provincial Commissioner for a report in 2 weeks' time on the further steps that need to be taken, because it was clear that not all the components of the criminal justice system, the prosecutors, the SIU, the asset forfeiture unit, the prosecutors are actually involved. The police at the moment in Gauteng meet every Wednesday, but it's just the South African Police Service. So I think that that is going to be an important next step, strengthening the anti-gang units. I think they are under-resourced. So if we're going to get control of this problem, we have to look at whether the level of resourcing of the anti-gang units is sufficient. That's a conversation I need to have with the National Commissioner. I mean, these resources, we are being stretched, but I'm going to have to see whether it's possible to strengthen the anti-gang units. And I expect in 2 weeks' time, unfortunately, I'm going to be in the Western Cape for parliamentary business the whole of next week. And the following week, I also have a full diary. But I'm planning when I get back to receive this report. And also, I think it's going to be important to convene community structures, those who are dealing with alcohol abuse, and other community structures. There are community structures that deal with the problem of excessive liquor, the number of taverns and so forth. So I want to convene a meeting of those community structures in all the affected areas, bring them all together and have a conversation with them about how, what role the community can play in supporting these increased efforts to deal with the problem of gang violence. It's very heartbreaking. Here we have a 15-year-old child who died, who's injured. The mother passed away. I am going to visit the baby girl at Chalok again.
And Minister, we understand that following the President's SONA address, where he mentioned that the army would be brought in areas that are hot crime spots like Westbury as well as the Western Cape. Has the army been deployed yet within Westbury? I mean, what's the timeline?
There are parts of the country where deployment has already started. It is going to take a little bit longer than originally expected. And the reason for that is that, people are raising legitimately concerns about the risks associated with deploying the army, because the soldiers are not trained in policing. So we have to ensure that we take them through a process, you can call it a training process, of understanding their role and also the limits of their responsibility, so that we avoid a situation where people are hurt, caught in the line of fire and so forth. So we want to make sure that the army understands its role, and that training is taking place.
Thank you, Minister. Thabiso Radebe from SABC News. In terms of investigations, how far are you in terms of investigations, the incident that happened during the week?
So I'm not going to go into detail about ongoing investigations. I did get a report on an ongoing investigation, whether or not there are suspects and so forth. I can say that the police are making progress. They've got good information, but I don't want to discuss this matter further in public.
Thank you so much, Minister.
Thank you. Hi, James.
Thank you so much. Now, only last month, the anti-gang unit had a meeting with the anti-gang with community members rather in the Westbury community.
Yes.
One of the questions was, how can the police better police these communities? That was a question from Brigadier Mapoto. And one of the suggestions by community members was food patrol in these communities,
yes,
in the Westbury community. Is that happening because the meeting was held last month?
I had a meeting, what we call a MINMAC, a meeting with all the provincial MECs yesterday in the Western Cape, where one of the main subjects under discussion was to establish patroller initiatives in those areas where they don't exist, and we're exploring funding models. I'm very much in favor of supporting the patrollers with stipends, with training and so forth. And already in this province, Premier Lesufi has introduced these traffic wardens. But in these areas where we don't yet have patrollers, that is something we need to look at. So it's a priority for me. I want to, of course, it costs a lot of money. We have to find a proper and sustainable funding source, and that is what was under discussion yesterday. And I asked the provincial MECs, who will report back at the following MINMAC in about 4 months' time, because they will have the primary responsibility for implementing a patroller program. When I was the MEC in Gauteng, I saw that it worked very well. It was being implemented by the Provincial Department of Community Safety, but what I'm looking at is whether there's a matching source of funding at national level. This program can be funded from the provincial budget, and then we have to look at things like proper training and so forth. But it's definitely something that's high up on my priority list.
Lastly, Minister, last year when you came to the community, there was an issue about gang-related violence happening within our schools also, which is something that you also got to comment on. In terms of fighting gang-related violence within the school premises, is that happening? What is the Department of, the Minister of Police and the Department of Education are doing in fighting that?
One of the trends that we're seeing, including in this incident, is that young people, and increasingly younger people, including from schools, are being recruited into these gangs. That is, the vulnerability arises from the fact that in our communities there's a high level of unemployment. Young people need sources of income and opportunity. That's absent. That tells you that what we need is an all-government approach. We can't just rely on law enforcement. And it's very clear in the areas that are affected by gangs, in the Western Cape, in the Eastern Cape, in Gauteng. There are about 8 areas in Gauteng. The main problem is that there's underinvestment in these communities. There are the socio-economic problems. So, you know, part of my responsibility is to engage with the ministers of education, of higher education and basic education. They themselves are trying to engage me constantly on the problems of safety and security in the schools. There's a bullying problem and so forth. But it's very difficult. We can't solve these problems with the police. These are socioeconomic problems. They're social fabric problems that are entrenched, that are deep. All I can say is that we need to work together with our people, with our communities, to improve their lives.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay.
Are we still going to meet the families this morning and also
Yes.
the community leaders, because there has to be those engagements?
There was no prior notification of the community leaders. So what I've said about that, because you're quite right that that's needed, it has been occurring from time to time, but what I'm planning to do when I come back in 2 weeks' time is to try and bring the community structures and leaders together from all these affected communities so that we can emerge with a plan for community involvement in addressing the problems of anti-gang violence. I have decided that I will visit Rihanna Stewart, the baby in the hospital, whose mother is deceased, but perhaps not visit the families that are actually involved in gang violence. It was a judgment call in a way. I mean, I am very saddened by the fact that these young men were involved in a shooting incident. In both cases, the one in Landlaagte and here, you know, they were sitting outside and then attacked. So it's very sad, but I think maybe I'll be sending the wrong message. So I will go and see the baby girl who was also unfortunately injured. Yeah.
Minister, without giving too much away, because obviously you did say you can't unveil much, do you have any leads, or do the police have any leads with regards to the suspects?
Yes, they do.
Okay. Thank you, Minister.
Prof, any plans in terms of beefing up security in this particular area? We understand that there's an issue of police visibility.
Look, when the army is deployed, it will have to focus on the areas that are affected by the gang violence. And in other areas, the focus is going to be on the on illegal mining. That's where we want to deploy the army, to give the police. It's a stabilization strategy. It's not going to solve the problem. So in the meantime, we have to strengthen the policing response to this long existing problem of gang violence. And I've discussed with the Deputy National Provincial Commissioner certain proposals. I expect them to go back and refine those proposals. I've mentioned some of them: strengthening the anti-gang units, making sure that the police are working together with the prosecutors, with the SIU, with the asset forfeiture unit and so forth. That is absent. That is not sufficient. There are certain other problems. I've been told, for instance, that that there's problems in the Boksburg court. The police feel that they're not getting sufficient cooperation from the prosecutor there. There's a proposal that we should establish a special court for to deal with the anti-gang strategy. That's obviously something I have to discuss with the Minister of Justice, Minister Kubai. It's not always easy to establish specialist courts because you require resources to do that. You know, she's got a limited budget, and often the judiciary is skeptical about such proposals. But the police said to me today that they think that we need a specialist court, and I will be discussing that matter with Minister Kubai.
Thank you so much. Mr. Kukara, just one for you, sir. How's the manhunt going, and when can we expect some arrests?
No, we can't give time frame. As we indicated, we are following up leads, and we are positive we will be able to capture those who are involved. That's all what we can say.
Police management talking to us about the issues of crime here, especially after two people were shot. We're just going to hear one community member speaking to the police minister here.
Traveling home last night on the flight, I got home around 10 o'clock. And at the very last minute, my visit to the police station was arranged. So you can talk to Karma, you can give her your contact details, and we'll try and invite you the next
not
time.
to be disrespectful or anything.
Yes.
I think we've been down this road one too many a times.
No, you're not going to turn this into a... I'm
Minister,
not going to have a conversation
I
with you
am
now.
also not, but Minister,
Yeah.
it is also not. It is also not fair that what is currently happening to our children.
Yes.
I mean, we've got this 18-year-old boy that matriculated last year.
Yes.
The one that has been shot, Reese also. So he's not one of the perpetrators, nor is he a criminal.
Yes.
So why are we also not visiting his house, Minister? No, man, this is rather unfair. That everything just gets swept under the carpet. No.
Talk to us, ma'am.
No, I am not happy. And I told this to the minister in a closed door meeting that we had the last time here at JMPD. This is what we come and do here. It's sensation early in the morning that this is the only thing. Those families are crying. The families are crying. Now he must go to a hospital. He must go and visit elsewhere. Why don't you approach the family and the residents of Westbury and surrounding areas that is undergoing this turmoil every day? We said that we are bringing in the army. Where's the army? When is the army coming? This cannot be the order of the day that the minister come here for five minutes. Ward 82 is my ward. So Firetown Police Station is my ward. They are being disrespectful. I've been calling them from 7 o'clock this morning because we saw this notice going out. This cannot be right.
Tell us about your concern, Mama, in this area.
Our concern is that the army needs to come in because our children are dying on the streets of Westbury every day prematurely. Elderalo Park, all other areas. This cannot be the order of the day that he comes here with this whole entourage here and not doing anything. Going to visit a baby in a hospital. What about the families in Westbury that is waiting for the minister? There's a notice that went out to say that the minister will be here. This is wrong what they are doing.
What have they done since last year?
They have done absolutely nothing. Let them come for me. I said it. They have done nothing. We are angry, and our colored people in this area is not angry enough. We are not angry enough. This is not right.
But, Mama, the issue of crime is not about colors or black.
Guys, it doesn't matter, but currently it is happening in a colored community. It's not about colored lives, but colored children is dying every day on the streets of Westbury, and we're not doing anything.
And ma'am, what would you hope?
BM Smos is one of the community members. I can see that she's a councillor at the city of Johannesburg, complaining about why the minister is no longer going to meet the community members here.
He matriculated last year. Where's his life? His life is gone.
So the issue that we found is that the minister is no longer going to meet the family members because of the sensitivity of this particular case where people were shot and killed and one baby was hospitalized, and he's saying that he's going to be meeting the child who was shot here. We've heard that the community member is saying that they want the immediate deployment of the South African National Defence Force members in these particular areas because people are dying, people are being shot on a daily basis on this particular area. So we're just going to be following the minister just to get the update on the baby who's at the hospital at the moment, who was also involved in that particular incident of shooting during the week. We've heard that investigations are at an advanced stage for police manhunting, or rather looking for the suspects who shot and killed those people who were in one of the areas here in Westbury. Chris?
Thabiso, I planned to ask you another question, but I know that you need to follow that convoy so that you're able to get to where the minister is going very quickly. We're going to let you go. I understand exactly what's happening there on the ground. The minister, the acting minister of police is going to, we understand from our colleagues now, no longer going to visit the family members of those affected by this latest ambush, if I can, in Westbury. And I plan to ask my colleague whether the families have now dejected this visit by the acting police minister. Do they want the police minister in that area? We're also hearing from my colleague and of course, that community member who says she's a councillor in that area, that absolutely nothing is taking place in their communities, bemoaning what she calls the few minutes that you'll have dignitaries visiting these areas, and after they're done, absolutely nothing changes there. Thabiso, if you're still with me, the team tells me that you're still with us. Why is the minister no longer going to visit the families of the victims? Is it that you spoke about sensitivities, or is it the families that do not want the minister to go there? Can I just get some clarification there?
But, yes, Chris, what we heard from the councillor who was here, who was angry, speaking with us here, she was saying that the families are ready to meet the minister to talk about the issues, to talk about their sadness about losing one of their own, some of their own here. But what we got from the management of the SAPS is that because of the sensitivity of this matter, the minister is no longer going to meet with the community or other families who are affected by this particular incident during the week. That's what we got from the management. But seemingly, the community, rather the families, were ready to meet with the SAPS management to talk about their sadness and their grief in this particular moment. Chris?
And the minister has then moved from there, Thabiso. Just outline for me once again where he's headed to now, or is it done for the day? There doesn't seem to be a consensus on when exactly the army is going to be deployed. I know that operational plans cannot be discussed. That would defeat the purpose. But this is a community, and it's the first question that I asked you. The community member or the councillor says, where is the SANDF? This is actually a matter of urgency. The gangsterism, the crime, the body count has been rising, not just in Westbury, but in other areas that have been affected by violent crime and gangsterism for years.
No specific dates were given about the employment of the SANDF in this particular area. But the minister was saying that this time around he's going to be meeting with the baby at the hospital, because the baby's mother is one of the people who passed on after that particular incident. So he did confirm that the SANDF is going to be deployed, but at the moment the South African Police Service are still manning the situation, monitoring the situation in terms of keeping the communities around here safe, whilst we are waiting for the deployment of the South African National Defence Force members.
All right, Thabiso, also just outline that plan for me. So the minister has now left the Sophia Town police station where you are, and he's headed to where now?
He said he's going to the police station. We are still at the police station, the Sophia Town police station. But while he was responding to our media inquiries, he was saying that he's heading to the hospital to meet with the baby who is hospitalized after the shooting. Chris?